Hey there, this is Falconer with Skyflow, and today I'm talking about why you should be thinking about using multiple payment processors if you're collecting customer credit card data today and issuing transactions against those cards, and how to actually accomplish that. So if you're a business with an application online and you're collecting customer credit card data and then issuing transactions against those cards, you're most likely using some sort of third-party payment processing system, something like Stripe, Adyen, Braintree. There's a whole host of different available options out there. And what happens is your customer is probably reaching a web page, or it could be within an application, where they're going to be presented with a form to enter their credit card number, the cardholder name, the expiration information, and their CVV. And what's happening here is that these form elements, even though they look like they're being hosted on your web page, are actually embedded in there via iframes by your payment processor. So they're actually hosted on your payment processor servers. And that offloads essentially PCI compliance from your front-end system to your payment processor. And that's done via a client-side SDK that your payment processor provides you. So you can do this very easily with most of these payment processors. And when that credit card data is entered, it's essentially sent directly to your payment processor servers. So let's say you're using Stripe. So it's going to be sent to Stripe servers. And now your customer data is over here within Stripe's secure PCI compliant environment. And then Stripe is going to send you a token back. And this token is essentially a non-sensitive proxy to the original credit card data, which you can safely store within your application database. And when you need to issue a transaction against the card, you're making an API call against Stripe in this example, using the token and the amount that you want to charge the card. That goes over to Stripe. Stripe will automatically convert that token into the original credit card data and then send that credit card data onto the card networks and then eventually the issuing bank to actually authorize that transaction and issue the transaction against the card, allowing you to get paid for the service that you offer. So this is great because you're essentially offloading PCI compliance to the third-party service, and using their tooling, you can be up and running very, very quickly and start charging for your service, making money for your business. The downside here is that you're essentially vendor locked in at this point because your customer credit card data lives over here in Stripe's environment. It's very hard to migrate that data off of Stripe into another payment processor in a PCI compliant way. And you might want to do that because maybe you reach a point in your business where you're no longer happy with whatever payment processor you're using and you want to go to another one. Or there's a lot of business reasons for using multiple payment processors, including optimizing the fees. As you scale your business, some payment processors will give you essentially a better fee structure for the volume that you're doing today. As you expand internationally, you might need to support certain types of currencies that are not supported by your payment processor today, as well as some payment processors perform better in certain geographies, both from essentially a computational perspective, as well as authorization rates and so on. And you don't want to reach a point where, say it's Black Friday in the United States, and your payment processor is getting hammered with transactions and is slowing down, and inevitably that means that your checkout experience slows down as well, creating a worse customer experience. So you want to be able to avoid that by diverting the traffic to a different payment processor in that scenario. So how can you do that? Well, you can do that using a Skyflow Data Privacy Vault. So that's what we're going to take a look at next. So with the Data Privacy Vault, you're going to have a very similar setup to what we talked about before with the payment processor. So we provide you a client-side SDK, which will allow you to embed these form elements. Those form elements are then hosted within Skyflow's PCI compliant server environment, but it still looks like your website. And when the data is collected, that PCI data is going to go over to Skyflow into your Data Privacy Vault. So now your customer data lives over here within your Skyflow Vault, not within essentially the Stripe environment. And we're going to send you tokens back. So these tokens are proxies for the cardholder name, the credit card number, and the expiration information, and you can store that within your application database. So you're getting the same value of offloading PCI compliance off of your responsibility and your infrastructure by using a Skyflow Data Privacy Vault, but now your data is not locked into a particular vendor. You have control over that data within the secure environment provided by Skyflow. And when it comes to issuing a transaction, what's going to happen is your application database is storing those tokens. So you have your application database here, and you're going to grab those tokens from your back-end system. And using the combination of the tokens and the amount that you want to charge the card, just like before with Stripe, you're going to issue an API call to Skyflow. So this is non-sensitive data. This is essentially tokens plus the amount. Skyflow, within a secure PCI compliant environment, is going to essentially detokenize those tokens to their original values and then send the original values as well as the amount over to whichever payment processor you want. So you could be using Stripe, you could be using Adyen, Braintree, or a whole host of other options, or maybe Visa directly even. And then these services are going to forward that information onto the card network and the issuing bank just like before. And then the response is going to come back from those different services. Skyflow is going to pull out any sensitive data in the response, store it within the vault, and give you tokenized forms of that data back, as well as all the other non-sensitive data, so that you can know that the transaction actually went through. And what you're getting here is the same value that you have by offloading PCI compliance to a third-party vendor like Stripe or Adyen or Braintree, but you're maximizing the utility of your customer data, because now it's actually you're owning that data within the vault. And you could proxy the call to any third-party service that you want. So if your payment processor is having problems on Black Friday, well, you can divert that traffic to a different payment processor, your backup processor. Or if you're expanding internationally, you need certain local currencies, well, you can make it so that transactions in that particular geography go through that payment processor versus some other one. And it also gives you a tremendous amount of negotiating power, because now you're not vendor locked in. You can essentially migrate your transactions to any processor that you want, depending on what your business needs, maximizing your business flexibility. So if this sounds interesting to you and you want to get this set up, make sure you check us out at skyflow.com. We can work with you to have this set up really in a matter of hours or even days, and have you avoid vendor lock-in and allow you to maximize your business flexibility, reduce your fees, increase your authorization rates by leveraging multiple payment processors. So again, check us out at skyflow.com, and remember, move fast, but don't break privacy.